Good morning. This is Deacon Bill with Christ Church Episcopal in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going through the Godly Play series, Knowing Jesus in a New Way. And we give thanks to the Godly Play Foundation for allowing us to share their stories. This is week 4, and our story today is Known in the Morning. We're trying to remember the season of Easter as it extends the experience of Easter Sunday and also prepares us for Pentecost. Jesus' appearances have fascinated people from the disciples to the opponents of early Christians to the present. Clearly, it was something very powerful. Paul, who originally was an opponent of the followers of the way, turned his life around and became a devout Christian. Our focus is on Jesus' followers as they experience the fearful wonder and astonishment of this transition time. The disciples were commissioned to spread the good news of the reality they experienced during the transition and in Pentecost. They were called to help God create a new and unknown world. They had to create God's creation anew, as we must also do in our own time, guided by Eastertide and Pentecost. Let's review for a moment. In the first week, we remember the 3 Marys and the disciples went to the empty tomb. In the second week, Jesus broke bread with the disciples and then vanished. In the third week, we remember the story of doubting Thomas and Jesus' words of those who have not seen and yet believe. On this 4th Sunday in the season of Easter, we remember how the disciples went north to Galilee as Jesus had told them. It was a long journey, some 80 miles. It took about 4 days to walk that distance. Many of those who were with Jesus were fishermen, so they went to the Sea of Galilee to rest. This is a place they knew as young children. They had fished there with their fathers. Suddenly, Peter stood up and said, "I'm going fishing." The rest of them went with him to prepare the boat. As soon as they pushed out into the lake and the sail filled with wind, they went out into the sea. They fished all night, but they caught nothing. Still, the sounds and smells of the lake comforted them. They were at home. In the morning, the sky turned pink and then blue. They could make out the shore and someone standing by a fire. They could see the smoke and red glow from the charcoal burning. "Have you caught anything?" All they could say was no. "Throw your nets in on the other side." What could they lose? They pulled in empty nets and threw them out on the other side. They could feel the fish moving as they held the ropes. John was not paying attention to the fish. He leaned forward and was watching the man moving on the shore. He said to Peter, "It is the Lord." Peter stood up. He jumped. He swam. He felt the sand under his feet and waded ashore. The others turned the boat towards land. The nets were so full they could not pull them in, so they dragged them behind the boat. As they walked toward the fire, the stranger called out, "Bring some fish." When they gathered around the fire, the stranger was no stranger. They all knew it was Jesus, but they were afraid to say anything. "Have some breakfast," he said. There were fish cooking on the fire. Jesus gave them fish and bread. They all talked as they ate. The fish and bread also tasted of home. Then Jesus said to Peter, "Do you love me?" "Yes, of course," Peter responded. "Feed my lambs." "Do you love me?" Jesus asked again. "Yes." "Tend my sheep." "Do you love me?" Jesus asked the third time. "You already know I do," Peter responded. "Feed my sheep." Then he began to talk to Peter about growing old and how you need to help in old age. Sometimes people tell you what to do, even if you do not want them to. Years later, they wondered if Jesus had been preparing Peter for his death in Rome as an old man. Jesus said, "Follow me." Did he mean all of them? No. Peter got up, and the two of them walked off along the shoreline. Peter looked back and saw John following them. "What about this man? Will he die like the rest of us?" "It is not for you to know such things." Peter fell silent, and Jesus was gone. This ends our story for today. So parents, I would ask again that you help guide your children in an activity. Children, look around your house. Is there anything that you can bring and put beside this picture that you see today and help us tell more about this part of the story? Is there something that just reaches out and calls to you and seems like you want to talk about it? If there is, write it down, make a recording, send a picture to office@christchurchtulsa.org. I'd love to hear from you. God bless you, and have a wonderful week.